about to get into the Martini Porsches at the time. Changed days. Changed days.
Now, there's a Porsche on its own. It's not got past the 40 car, has it, whilst we were thinking about food?
No, it hasn't. No.
The gap remains at about 1.3 seconds. Just fading a little bit, though, from Kamui Kobayashi's car. Remember that he was one of the few that took brand new tyres in the earlier stop. He's about an hour into its stint, but were that round of stops actually done under a full course yellow? I suppose they will have been.
They were, yes. So in terms of remaining energy, Kamui Kobayashi's due in any at the end of this lap. He's got to be. He's got 2% left.
Well, the indication that that's also likely to happen is that another Cadillac, Nick Damon, has just come in. This is the Ricky Taylor car 10 in for a stop.
Yeah. Now the interesting thing about this car actually isn't what's happened. It's what happened the previous time, because they have taken off a set of softs and put on a set of mediums. So last time round, this Ricky Taylor number 10 was running on soft tyres, not mediums. Apart from that, very simple. What I have to say is they are Michelin brilliant, marking the size of their sideboard with soft and medium.
I think they're brilliant because
they are brilliant. I think. The markings.
The way of finding out precisely what tyre everyone is using. We can tell from up here, which is just brilliant as well. Here's the 40 car. Is that your end, Nick? Yep. Go ahead.
I am. Now the 40 car was on mediums, and it's actually not getting any tyres at all. So Kamui Kobayashi is going to stay on board. He doesn't need any rubber of any sort, brilliant or otherwise. They clear it all down. Quite a bit of shuffling back in the left-hand side pod. A man is having a right holder. The wires kind of. I don't know whether they've got a slight concern about the electrical connection. That's where the brake switch is. The electrical brake switch, not the brakes. The brakes behind in the third Cadillac, the 31 wheeler Cadillac's also in. That is getting tyres and a big windscreen clean. Pretty sure that didn't change drivers. I'll be honest with you, I'll be more interested in looking at Kobayashi's car. So 3 Caddies in, no driver changes, 2 with tyres, 1 without, and I think they're all back on mediums now.
That is highly interesting that they've gone from a soft back to the medium. So as the number 10 car for Wayne Taylor Racing Cadillacs, if they just thought, let's give it a go, let's see. And it might be that they think, no, there's too much degradation. And judging by the comparative pace of the 40 Wayne Taylor Racing Cadillac, which came in on mediums, and the number 10, which came in on soft, the 10 was definitely the slower of the two. I think that tells you that it's not quite the time for softs, but it shows you that it's definitely on the minds of the teams. And I'm sure as the track temperature continues to drop, it will be a discussion. The air temperature has just faded down to 10 degrees Celsius. Track temperature now just 16 degrees Celsius.
Hello to Richard Crail, who I'm sure is incredibly busy at the moment with all the preparation ahead of the Bathurst 12-hour next weekend. Another race you can hear live here on the Radio Show Limited network of channels. He sent me about 4 messages, initially with a list of drivers that are doing the Daytona Bathurst double. Thought it was 19 initially, then he buzzed me again. Actually it's 20, actually it's 21, because he'd forgotten about Fabian Schiller and Lucas Auer as well. But it's a reasonable time at the moment. I'm assuming you're in your home state of South Australia in Adelaide. 10:15, just gone. So it's not a bad time to be beginning your viewing of a 24-hour race, but you needed to be up almost 6 hours ago, of course, to enjoy the duration. Let's get back to Nick Damon for this CrowdStrike pit report. Plenty happening.
Yeah, it's a multi-level of people who are near the front of the grid. The number 7 Porsche came. There's a full service in the Porsche, though they've made a driver change and tyres as well. What's in front of me is the number 1 GTD Pro BMW. That is getting a full slug of it, but it is smoking. It is smoking like a 1970s miner down at the social club for its brakes at the moment, but it has got away again, so it does make a bit of heat soak, but that was really was coming out massively, like a chimney from either side of the car. The JDC Miller Motorsport Porsche is behind me. That's just a standard service and has slipped out of the pit lane as I speak now. And we are, of course, waiting for the other BMW, a couple of Acura, an Acura, because one of them is no longer running, of course, and another Porsche. So it's all getting spread out a bit. We're obviously a reasonable distance away from the last full course yellows, and things are getting spread out again.
Also, a quick word from Jamie Howe about a lack of headlights on the number 7 Porsche of Felipe Nasser as he headed towards the end of pit road. A glimpse over towards the International Horseshoe tells me they have burst into life now, but it's taken some time, and obviously that would have been a major issue that the car potentially could have been flagged for. So the Acura that Nick refers to as being out of the race is the 93, which had dramas quite early on, and that Meyer-Shank Racing car now, what is it, an official retirement? It's certainly labelled as no longer running. No, says Nick, but it's well out of the mixture, I'm afraid. So we're down to 10 GTP cars. The 5 Mustang sampling Proton run Porsche is in now, the 963. So Nico Pino's brought that in from 4th position, P-Mac.
Amazing stint for the young Chilean in that number 5 Mustang sampling car. It was Neil Yanni who started it off and really forged to the front. Remember, it started at the back of the class after not actually running in qualifying, because the session in the morning before qualifying, they had a wishbone failure, which brought out a red flag. So they've kind of been on the back foot a little bit since then, but since the green flag has dropped, they've been forging forward in that Proton competition run car with the beautiful black and gold colours of Mustang sampling, and also the badges of FAT, Fat Turbo, which Porsche fans will know is the livery that was on the 1994 winning Dower 962, and is a brand actually owned by Ferdi Porsche, as race leader has got the nose coming off.
Yeah, but also a bigger issue here, Nick Damon, with the CrowdStrike pit report.
Well, actually, the reason the nose is coming off because he's hit something, and hitting something, the left-hand light is no longer working because it's broken. They've now plugged in the new nose. Now, interesting, the left-hand set of lights haven't relit. I'm not sure whether that needs a different firing. So currently, he's got the purple-coloured pit on the right-hand side, no lights on the left-hand side for the car. I was going to hope they're going to fire up. Then something Jamie can tell us when it goes past. And just when you see where he fires up, if these lights come on, fuel away, no lights not on, and away goes the team. And he's gone away and up to Jamie.
Down at the other end of pit lane, starting to get some GTD pit stops happening. The first caller to pit lane was the number 70. I'm now in the pit for 120. For Wright Motorsports, our GTD leader, they're looking to make their way around for a pit stop. So we're getting into the sweet spot of this race. It's one of the best times here at the Rolex 24. It's the overnight hours officially. Now nighttime as we're going to get a driver change down here. So we'll keep you updated with everybody as they come in, but things are about to get exciting.
Away goes the 6 with its new nose then, the Porsche Penske Motorsport 963. Estra brought that in. The new race leader, at least for the time being, is Scott Dixon in the 60 Acura from Meyer-Shank. But a good 52.5 minutes into his stint, so he'll be the next one in. And remember that Robin Fryn's BMW still parked on pit road for the time being, car number 25. Having said that, now he's on the move again and reappears at pit lane exit. Driver change, Marco Wittmann now at the wheel of that, as we are venturing towards 7 p.m. here at Daytona. The action relentless, needing to pay attention to pit stops, whether they're under yellow or under green. And now we have all sorts of different strategies up and down the order, with a steady wave of pit stops, but certainly not all on the same lap.
No, it's just starting to unstagger, if you like. It does mean that temporarily, at least, Scott Dixon for number 60, Acura Meyer-Shank Racing with Kirk Agajanian goes into the lead. He's got 3% of his energy remaining at the wheel of that Acura ARX 06. He's been at the wheel for a while, so we may well see a driver change in that 60 car. It's the 60 that's won this race on a couple of occasions. Won the last DPI race here at the Rolex 24, but also won the first GTP race. So Meyer-Shank Racing, this race has been kind to them over the years, and in fact the 60 of Scott Dixon is really tight there with the number 5 of Nico Pino, who of course has pitted. The 60 owes us a stop, so that's not really for position as such.
Couple of cars very close to one another. This looks suspiciously like it's for the race lead. It is. Scott Dixon in the 60 car then, with the number 1 illuminated on the side of the car. Also, pay mentioned Guven in the 120, which has spent some time out front in the GT Daytona class. I say for the race lead, Scott Dixon is due in any moment, so it will actually evolve into the 6 versus the 40, and they're separated by 6.2 seconds. Estra back to Kobayashi. But now let's take a CrowdStrike pit report with the 120. Here's Jamie again.
And Guven, the Red Bull athlete, has now got out of this beautiful 120, the Wright Motorsports Porsche, after his first stint here at the Rolex 24. He's handed duties over to Tom Sargent, who's now behind the wheel, to take his first laps in race pace here at the Rolex. And for Tom, you know, he moved over from Australia back in 2023 to compete in the Porsche Carrera Cup. He did that. Now he's here making his IMSA debut, and speaking to him earlier, he's literally looking forward to this nighttime stint, seeing the headlights, soaking it all in, and it was a very clean pit stop, so he's going to have clear track ahead of him. Nick?
And just down the pit lane, we had the 60, the Acura from Meyershank Racing. That's having a full service, as is the one. They have changed drivers as well. Scott Dixon scudded out. And away it goes on the medium tyres. Still just one car that's bothered with the softs. No one else is trying them yet. And that, I think, concludes this round of prototype stops. Or GTP stops.
Indeed, yes, the GT prototype division. So Dixon was pretty close there to falling off the lead lap, I suppose. Well, he was being caught by the leader, then he pitted, and we'll feed back in. We'll tell you in a moment precisely where, but Estra was pressurising him. Now the 70 car, that's at the 120 so slow on the cold tyres for the GT Daytona class, because the speed differential there between the 120 and the 70 GT car was frankly frightening going into the second of the horseshoes on the infield, but they avoided one another and will continue on. The 120 will get back up to speed very, very swiftly. Let's head back to Nick Damon for a CrowdStrike pit report.
Yeah, news of its demise was very much premature, because the 93 Acura Meyershank machine has come back onto pit lane. It is getting a full slug of fuel. Oh, so you get soft tyres as well. So soft tyres going on this 93. So a useful comparison can be had by our statisticians between the two cars. Now fully mended after what looked like a rear left suspension issue. So being filled up. Can't quite see who's on board at the moment. I think it's still Alex Palou actually looking at the helmet. So I think it's Alex Palou who stayed on board. He's now got soft tyres, a full slug of fuel, and they have a chance now to use this car to get an idea of what the other car could do with this particular type of rubber on it.
Yeah, so good to hear that the 93 is on its way back. That means there's still only 2 official retirements to date. They are the 63 Lamborghini GTP car, which Mirko Bortolotti drove in the closing stages, and I remember Nick catching up with Eduardo Mortara trying to find out precisely what was wrong with that car, but that was a very early exit. And then the other car that is a retirement is the 75 Express Mercedes. That may have only been announced quite recently. Yes, it's just popped up on the bottom of the screen now. So the Kenny Habul gold Mercedes, instantly recognisable in terms of its livery, with the flames licking from that large grille on the front of the AMG. I'm afraid we ain't going to see that again this year at Daytona.
Just means Kenny can get away quicker to get down the Bathurst to go down to his house on Conrod Straight.
Good point. Now, is he on the list that Richard Crail said to me earlier on to be in the Bathurst 12 hours?
Oh yes,
next week? I'm sure he is.
Did you not get the list I sent you?
Well, you see, you sent me a list of drivers who've done the triple.
No.
Did you send me a double as well?
Yeah. I sent you
but either from you or Richard Crail, who am I going to trust more? Silence from Heindorf.
Are you listening?
So, first, well, the problem is he's not exactly got a glittering record, old Crailsey, because he sent me a list of 19 drivers, then remembered one more, then remembered the 21st after that. So I'm expecting possibly to extend even further. Kenny Habul is there, but so was eventually Fabian Schiller and Lucas Auer. What we've not... Is there anybody that was doing 4?
No.
Right, so
I'm the only one who's doing.
It's common knowledge that there are a number of top-tier universities in Virginia, but there's one that's different from the rest. A world-class university that's ungated, unconventional, and unequaled. VCU. Uncommon minds want it.
Yes. course,
he's here this weekend.
Yes, he didn't do Abu Dhabi because he was here for the Raw, and then he's doing popping around, just popping down to Sydney, driving up to the Blue Mountains, through the Blue Mountains. This is getting a little bit more feisty than I expected it to at this stage. Have we noticed any of the GTPs taking the white sidewall or the white marked soft tyres?
We have been keeping a keen eye on that, but no. Oh, Nick's saying yes, we did. Oh, the 10. Well, it was only the 10 though. So the 10 car, Ricky Taylor took the white walls or the white badged Michelin tyres. So car 10, and apart from that, even though Kamui Kobayashi looked like he might be on them because he was absolutely slicing his way through the order, that was because he had fresh medium tyres on. And the other car with the softs, the 93, but that's not really in the hunt at this stage. It's not a retirement, but Alex Palou took it out of the race short time ago. It's behind the wall, it's being shown as stopped, and we'll wait to see whether we see it again. Tom Gamble, meantime, in the Heart of Racing team car, comes into pit lane, and down at Jamie Howe's end of pit road, quite a lot going on with you. Looks like it's all GT cars then. We've reached that phase of their stint, Jamie.
Yes, it's been madness down here the last couple of moments. All of the GTD cars seemingly in the field have come in. The number 13 is the one right in front of me right now from AWA. It's Ori Fidani that stayed behind the wheel of that car. Once everything cycled through, he was being shown as the class leader at that pit stop. But once everybody gets back out, crosses the stripe, we'll see how everybody stacks up. But nothing exciting. A few driver changes, but pretty much just fuel tires and keep on going.
Thank you, Jamie. Jamie Howe, one of our CrowdStrike pit lane team. Joe Bradley, Nick Damon, Ryan Marine as well. We'll be getting a blast of Ryan in the Ford Performance Global Broadcast Centre as well over the evening. I heard you talking about the Sacred Coffee overnight club, the Night Owls. Tubbs and the rest of the team already been promoting that. Thank you very much for the support as ever. I'm not sure how wise it is, and I don't know how this started really years ago, and you've done plenty of it with Bruce Jones, but I'm not sure why NBC thought it was a good idea to hand us their airwaves. I really don't.
Well,
there you go. Can you just turn the lights off when you leave? That'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll just carry on talking, no trouble.
Yeah.
Until the cleaners turn up in the morning.
Yeah, yeah. Pretty much it. Pretty much it. It's 6 hours this year. We've been given an extra 50%. It's great.
We'll take that.
Yeah, absolutely. So for
93
those in the States,
93's back in the race, so it's just done an outlap with Alex Palou still at the wheel. However, I've just seen a penalty now at the bottom of the screen concerning that car.
Yeah, it's not going to really affect them. JP working on the car outside the pit box. They'll get a drive-through for that. You know, where are they now? An incident heading back onto the high banks at turn 6, and this is another car off the circuit. This has been one of our action areas along with the Western Horseshoe, and that is immediately disappeared again, but it I think concerned the car that's just come out of the pits, which is Ori Fidani, the AWA Corvette. Got the binoculars out there, JP, which I remember to bring this year, thank goodness.
Well done, well done. It was actually the 13 car,
yeah,
which I'm looking for.
It's on the second page, it's just dropped on the second. I'm pretty certain it was the AWA, side by side through turn 1 with the Ranch 74 and the Wins car in LMP2 having a cracking battle there as they were going past. I think that's the Cetilar Ferrari. Oh no, it's not. It's the 36 Ferrari. I do like the fact that there's plenty of different colours this year, although I'll be honest, it has thrown me out just a tiny little bit, although I studied Andy Blackmore's Spotter's Guide quite extensively. plenty of time. Magnus 44, Andy Lally keeps telling me that this is his last race, and I don't believe him at all. He's taken up the role as president of Trans Am. We reported that back end of last year, I think it was, on Midweek Motorsport. I mean, exactly the right sort of person. That's the quality and experience that you need to keep in a motor racing paddock. I do hope we see him back from time to time. I mean, phenomenal to be able to draw on that experience, even if it's just for endurance races in the Imsa paddock. And I suspect that should he want to do it, and let's be honest, you have to have the desire to do it, because it's a considerable commitment in time and energy, and he'll want to give of his best for the Trans Am series. Aston Martin number 44 just defending a little bit there with the Mustang number 66 right behind it. That's running 6th or 7th in the class. Just saw it flash through there. And also right in behind it is the brake discs glow going into the far end of the circuit. That is that sitting in behind him? That's the Ferrari 296 GT3 of James Collado.
So yeah, you were spot on with the 13 Corvette, and yeah, the 13 is currently in, well, the lower reach is 17th position. In fact, it's just coming to the pit road. However, very, very close in GTD Pro, and a change of position with the Ford Mustang of number 65 slipping behind the BMW, not for the first time. However, this is for the lead this time in GTD Pro. That's Conor De Filippi who leads in the number 1 Paul Miller Racing BMW, but it's now a Beamer 1-2 with Jesse Krohn back up to second place, passing Chris Meese on the brakes into the International Horseshoe.
You know, this is fascinating, absolutely fascinating, and you've got the stats for how long those cars have been out. I get the feeling that there is a distinct difference, particularly in the GTD cars and the GTD Pro cars as well, in particular, of how the cars, the different manufacturer cars, are performing at the start and the end of a stint.
Yeah.
And I love that, because we love variety.
Yeah, it's terrific, and obviously, you know, cars of different shapes and sizes treat their tyres in different ways as well. But we've got a race leader in GTD Pro who's nearly 20 minutes into a stint, whereas the cars in behind have pitted far more recently. So Chris Meese, who's actually just lost that place to Jesse Krohn, the second place position, they're only less than 10 minutes into each of their stints, and the one that's just made a stop is the AO Racing car of Alessio Picariello. Jamie informing me that although the 13 car made a stop, it was a struggle at the pit stop for Fidani's AWA Corvette, say down in 17th position and missing a right side mirror on that car as well, which may be a scar from its spin at turn 6. It was a spin and continue for Oli Fidani, but it was some time lost certainly. That car was already in the mid-pack in GTD. They'll be wanting to keep it as clean as possible to try and get back into the mix. It's 11 seconds the advantage for Kevin Estre over Kamui Kobayashi. 183 laps we're currently working, and basically the top two are on a similar strategy now. They came in 5 minutes apart. However, Kevin Magnussen, who has been at the wheel of his car for 40 odd minutes, is due into the pits probably then in the next half an hour or so. That's the Magnussen BMW, car number 24, which is currently in 3rd position. And the Acura of Colin Brown working its way through the Le Mans chicane, running in 6th place, needing to clear some traffic as it did so, almost towards the end of another half an hour within the race. Coming up for 7:10 here at Daytona for the 63rd edition of the Rolex 24, John.
In the Ford Performance Global Broadcast Centre, Mike Messina joins us. Hello, Mike. How are you from Brembo?
Very well, John. for having me.
Good to have you. Now, come on. I've got your card here, but I want to hear you say what your title is, because I love corporate titles.
Corporate titles are the best, aren't they?
They really are.
So I am the general manager of the racing division for Brembo North America.
That's a pretty weighty bit of responsibility that you have there, because Brembo are involved in racing in everything.
They really are, in almost every capacity, 2 wheels and 4. And you know, this year we celebrate our 50th year in motorsports. And we have, beyond that, the company has been in existence a little over 60 years now, so we have a very long and important reputation behind us. And so when you talk about the weight of this role, that's something I'm thinking about all the time.
Recently, as in the last couple of days, announced as officially now the brake technology partner for Imsa. What does that mean? Does that mean everybody has to run on your brakes?
Doesn't mean everybody has to. Most of them are, and the rest
smart
of them
ones will
well,
be. I said that.
You said that.
Okay, so you can't get into trouble for that.
I don't want to make any enemies up here, but most of them are, and the rest of them probably should. But you know, outside of just what we're looking at here today, there are also other series inside of Imsa where we are the specified braking system. If you think about Imsa, they have
an MX-5 usually.
MX-5, which always puts on a spectacular show here at Daytona. We also we have unique brake systems for the Mustang Challenge Series, as well as Porsche Carrera Cup, as well as Ferrari Challenge. So we do have a rather large presence in this market, and we have had for a long time. And it's nice to just sort of make that relationship more official now.
We had some stats earlier about how your brake engineers grade the Daytona road and oval circuit. They said it was a 3 out of 5. So what, you sit around a table with a cup of coffee, a nice big pot of coffee, and go, right, what do you think it is? What do you think it is? Or am I being slightly facetious in saying that?
Only slightly.
How do you decide whether it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 circuit?
There's actually a lot of factors that play into that. Now, when we first started that, we thought, well, we need to have some sort of a rating that is intuitive and makes sense to people that are going to be viewing it. And it would have been very easy to just look at a couple of parameters, such as, well, they're at this top speed and they have to reduce to this top speed, to this speed. And there's this many braking zones and they're this difficult because the temperatures are so high. But really, if you just look at this track and you did 1 lap around this track, really there's 2 places that you're really using the brakes in a strong kind of a way, and that's turn 1 and that's the bus stop in the back, the LeBlanc chicane. But the other thing that weighs into what makes this a 3 out of 5 instead of a 2 out of 5, for example, is the time. The fact that it's 24 hours, the repeatability, the consistency, the life that you need to get out of the brakes here. And you know, to be fair, turn 1 is a difficult braking zone. You have the transition from the banking to the flat. It's an increasing radius. It's a very tricky turn, and but a lot of it here, I think, is the time. The brakes have to be extremely consistent. Most of the passing is done on the brakes, and they have to feel just as good at hour 24 as they do at hour 1. And that's a difficult task, and so that makes it a slightly higher rating.
Hold that thought for a moment. Colin Brown wasn't using his brakes there at all, JP, as he went through, and I think he had his right side Michelin's doing a bit of a pass on the grass in the HRC number 60.
Well, there's something else that provides retardation other than Brembo brakes, and that is using the grass, isn't it, between the second horseshoe and turn 6. He was kind of forced there as he accelerated out of the bend. There were 2 GT cars absolutely side by side, one of which was the 36 Corvette for DXDT Racing. Pipa Dirani at the wheel of that car. He was the meat and the sandwich. I mean, Dirani very well versed in what prototypes need to be doing on the infield to lose as little time as possible.
Yeah, indeed so. And into the pits for the Lexus RCF GT3. That is Townsend Bell in the pro version of that car. They've been pulled again with a mechanical black flag, so that is an immediate visit to the pit lane to rectify tyre issues. So this again will be tyre pressures. And I also saw as well, JP, I don't know if you caught the number, somebody being asked to come in to replace the rear window.
Well, that was the other Lexus.
Oh, really, was it? Yes. Right, sorry, I only... it was the fact they had to replace the rear window that I thought was interesting.
Yeah, well, Nick Damon, let's just pop to him for a CrowdStrike pit report, because, Nick, you were seeing the 12 car, the other Vassar Sullivan machine, having that glass replaced.
Yeah, that was a very long stop, actually. They took the window off, and I'm wondering whether perhaps they didn't have a window actually in the pit, and they had to go back to the garage to get it. Because they were sitting there staring at the car for a while. Probably wondering, why on earth we replace a window? Is this event now sponsored by Autoglass or something? but they then came up, and the 14 car then came in. Unfortunately, the 14 car had to come in at the jaunty angle because the 12 was already there. We've seen a lot of cars come in for this technical foul, effectively not running the right tyre pressures, mostly GTDs, to be honest. And it's not the first time either. It's been the Lexus. So whether they've got a faulty sensor that's pinging Imsa, we've had a few faulty sensor issues, or whether they're just constantly trying it, I don't know.
Nick, stand by for action, because we've got Andy Lally off at turn 2 in the number 44 Aston Martin for Magnus Racing. So you may be getting a few callers in a moment or two if Andy can't get that car refired. He's going through the process of going through everything. Meantime, Mike Messina's here with us from Brembo. Okay, so it's a 3 out of 5. We've decided that. That's great. 24 hours for all components on the car is a massive, massive strain. We don't see people saving the cars anymore. Are you recommending, advising in terms of pad changes, rotor changes to your customers here, and how do you come to those conclusions?
So there's a lot of calculation that goes into that.
Full course yellow, by the way, so this is perfect time to have Mike with us, because the pits have just closed. So fire away, Mike. Go on.
No, so there is a lot of thought and data that goes into that. We do a lot of testing, do a lot of wear calculations, and normally what you come up with is a situation where you have cars that can probably go the entire 24 without a change. And it really becomes a question of, well, just because you can doesn't necessarily mean you should. Because odds are, at some point in the race, you're going to have a long caution period. You're going to have enough time at some point that you're going to be able to change the brakes. And do you really want to be at the end of the race with your brakes, which are tired, and your calipers, which are full of fluid, against another car that might be behind you that has fresher brakes, newer brakes, and a driver more willing to attack?
Andy Lally going straight on at the first corner, and I don't think that is brake related. I'm going to say that straight away. I think he lost the engine on that car, and he wasn't getting engine deceleration. The car's pulled up, it has not moved since, and there is, I'm afraid to say, fluid coming out from under the car that looks, well, I never like to see fluid coming out from underneath the car. It should never be coming out. This is not the condensation from the air conditioner unit, I'll tell you that right now. The AMR safety crew and the hard-working Daytona rescue team are already getting the preparation down there to get that fluid, whatever it is. I'm sorry to say, I think that's engine oil. I don't even think it's coolant. I think he was dead stick, and that's why he ran long. Not to do, you're braking, yes, with your friction material, but you're using the engine brake in there quite a lot as you come down, and I have a horrible suspicion that is coolant. I think that is engine oil, and Andy has not moved that car at all. He knows, he's got the experience to know when something's gone wrong. The steps, rollback is there. Mike Messina from Brembo with us, not missing any of the action at the moment here on Imsa Radio.
The one thing I'll point out is that the 24 BMW came in, and Nick Damon suspected that it got in just before the full course yellow came out. We haven't had the message on the screen from race control to say that the 24 BMW came into a closed pit lane, so they may have got one for free there.
If you have a look on my computer over there, you'll be able to see in the bottom bit from where the yellow was called whether that got in. So if you just tab down, you should be able to see on the timing there.
24, Kevin Magnussen enters pit, and then after that, what are we talking? 15 seconds or so, full course yellow came in.
There you go. There you go. Small margins. That's a great call by BMW team RLL. Hard on brakes then here, Mike. hard on the drivers as well, because there's no, I said when we were looking at some of the stats earlier on, we were talking about this is not like your street car, and braking in a race car is actually the complete opposite of braking in your road car. If you are trying to be smooth in your road car, you apply the brakes in a very progressive manner, and you brake harder, and then you peel off the brakes so that you come to a nice gentle stop. That's what you're supposed to do. I went to the Bentley driver school, and they told me to do that and not wiggle the water off the dashboard and all that sort of thing. And braking on a race car, whether it's got ABS or not ABS, most race cars at this level have got some kind of downforce. Therefore you've got aero. So you are jumping on the brakes as hard as possible. And these are not assisted brakes.
They're not. No, and absolutely. You have that downforce when you are at speed, and so that's when you're going to attack the pedal as hard as you can. The pedal pressure in a race car is a very different feeling than what I think most people are used to in their typical road car. In these cars, it's on average, we were talking about some of the math on that, and on average you have about between 65 and 80 pounds of pressure that you're applying to that brake pedal. And when you run the math on that, you say, okay, well, let's consider last year this race went 761 laps. If you were a driver that was running 6 hours of time during that, so you have 5 turns here, you're about 1,000 times. I think we calculated around 1,000, 1,100 leg presses that typical driver has done during that amount of time.
That's a workout. That's a leg workout.
Things start to hurt.
We talked about that BMW sneaking in. We've got Kevin Magnussen now with Nick to get a word from the Dane. Nick.
Kevin, it's certainly the end of the stint went well there. You got in just before the full course yellow came out.
Yeah, we got a bit of our luck back. We had a puncture, so we had to take another set, and fell behind quite a bit. So it was good timing with that yellow. Yeah, we're happy. I mean, it's a long race. We haven't had the smoothest start, but the car's running well, and I think we're in a good spot.
First competitive GTP outing with BMW, these first few stints. How do you feel it's gone, including your assimilation to the team, your change from Formula 1 to prototypes? How's it all gone?
Oh, it's gone well. I mean, I'm still just getting into it. I think every lap I do in the car, I feel more and more sort of comfortable. It's not. I haven't had that much running, so I'm really still learning about all the systems, how to get the most out of the car, and I'm enjoying it. I'm having a great time. All the guys in the teams, are doing a fantastic job. All the drivers. So yeah, looking forward to the rest of the race. I'll go and get some dinner now and rest for a bit.
Great stuff. Thanks.
Thank you.
So
I just checked in with Magnus Racing, the number 44, the Porsche Andy Lally behind the wheel that we're under the full course caution for, and unfortunately, you guys were right. That engine just let go, and one of the things that the team pointed out was Andy was going so quick. He was putting in his fastest laps, and just a little bit too much, maybe. Just said with a chuckle, but Andy, unfortunately, not going to be able to finish the last race for himself, and they're going to have some work to do to get that car back together and get it ready for the rest of its racing. But for them, that day is most likely done. John.
thank you, Jamie. Aston Martin, I'm afraid. I've now looked down on the track, and actually they're having to go back quite a long way. Andy did a really good job there, because that engine, I think, let go the moment he lifted off and shifted down to go down into turn 1. And not only did he not have a big accident spinning on his own oil, but he was savvy enough to stay off the racing line and stay wide as he went in. That is pro class driving and considerate, respectful driving, which you would expect nothing else from somebody of Andy Lally's character. Mike Messina from Brembo with us. We talk about friction. Of course, you talk about friction a lot of the time. The brakes slow the car down to a certain extent, but it's got to be then going through the hub and the tyre. Michelin here. You work with Michelin closely?
We do. We recently announced a technical partnership with Michelin. Yeah, you're right. It's a very common misconception that it's the brakes that stop the car, when in fact it is the tire that stops the car, and it's the brakes that stop the tire. So you have to understand what the tire is doing, and you have to anticipate the friction levels of the tire on the ground, and and adjust accordingly. And so we recently launched this partnership with Michelin, and to have a better understanding of that relationship and the things that are happening in real time.
Two giants of motorsport and automotive, I've got to say, and both with a great reputation. It strikes me as well, though, Mike, that as racing cars get more complicated, it's not just about friction brakes. And we've heard some of the drivers in the early years of this new GTP category, they were struggling to get on top of the way the transition between the retardation from the hybrid system and the friction brakes and how that works. I've just been driving the new Porsche Taycan Turbo and the Macan, actually, Turbo, out in the Middle East. And the Macan's the newer of the two cars. And the way the electric motors work with the friction brakes is actually really, really impressive. There's no grab, you can't feel the changeover between it. So are you working on electronics as well as integration with those systems?
We are, specifically with GTP, as you know, with the regen, which you know, they have different regen maps and that sort of thing. But this actually goes back the transition and the harmonious relationship between the hydraulic brake and these quote-unquote electric brake is something that we've been working on for several years in Formula One with the KERS system, and now we've carried that forward over here, trying to make a electromechanical system that is mostly digital in its operation feel like something analog that everybody can relate to has been a monumental task. And when you consider you're trying to do that out here in this environment where a driver is pushing it at 10/10 pace, he has a brake system with very minimal compliance, it's a very stiff and rigid system, he feels everything that comes through, I should say he or she feels everything that comes through that pedal. And so it has, we have engineers that this is all they do, is they work on that seamless transition.